Now, most of you already know by now and have been panicking throughout the whole week of the exchange rate of between the US dollar to the ZAR or to the South African rand, because yesterday when the market closed, it finished at 19 rands 44 cents. So the US dollar now, or $1 equals to 19 rands and 44 cents, which is something that is not good, right? Because this, or a year ago or 52 weeks ago, the South African rand was trading at 16 rands and 44 cents, which was something which was seen as, of course, that the South African rand was stronger to the dollar. But to date, or yesterday when the market closed, we saw, of course, the rand finishing the day at 19 rands and 44 cents. Now, this to us investors that sometimes buy, or most of the time buy asset classes in the US, it is a bad thing and a good thing at the same time. Now, you might be asking yourself, how am I saying both these things? The bad thing is that now I have to pay, or I'll be paying a lot more when I transfer my South African money or my ZAR money into the US to go buy stocks in the US stock market. I'll have to pay more because, like I said, a year ago I was paying 16 rands. Now I'm having to pay 19 rands and 44 cents. So I am paying more, or way more than, of course, what I was paying a year ago. I mean, right now $10,000 equates to around 199,440, which is something that is not good at all. This is something that causes a lot of panic, or is causing some panic, especially if you want to still take your money in the US and buy US stocks, US equities, which is something that obviously it's not good. Even crypto, yeah, you get affected by this, because when you exchange your money from ZAR into the US, of course you have to now use, or they have to use 19 rands and 44 cents. And for some of the brokers we use, like with a broker like Easy Equity, I suppose now we are paying close to 20 rands, because I think there is a commission, or there is a transaction commission somewhere that we pay. So if it trades at 19 rands and 44, chances are when we transfer our money into the US, we are going to pay something close to 20 rands on the dot, which is something that obviously it is not good at all, because right now it means that when I take my money in the US, I'm going to pay 20 rands, or almost 20 rands for every dollar I take to the US, which is quite expensive. Now, the good thing, or the flip side, is that those assets that you already own in the US, those stocks you already own, the money that you have in your USD account for buying stocks, the good thing is that this week it grew so much due to the fact that the ZAR, or the South African rand, has been losing some value against the dollar. So obviously the money that you have in your USD account grew and adjust to these 19 rands and 44 cents, which is a good thing, right? Even the money that you have not bought your stock with, but it is in your USD account, it grew by this. This is the good thing, meaning that if you have been buying more used to US stocks, or if you have been taking a chunk of your money into the US, though this, of course, exchange rate of you maybe taking more money from this week or to date, you will have to pay more. But the good thing, or something that gives you comfort, is that if you have been doing that ever since the strength we saw last year from the ZAR, chances are very high that, yeah, you are not that hurt, because you know that obviously you had taken a chunk of your money, or most of your money, into the US stocks to buy, or to put your money into your USD account. And that, ladies and gents, it is a good thing, it is a plus thing, because for those of people that own dollars, or for those people that had a couple of dollars in their USD accounts, in their stocks, they saw, of course, their portfolio growing by just, of course, the ZAR, or the South African rand, losing value, or depreciating in terms of value against the dollar, which is something that, of course, it is a plus. But obviously we are also hurt. I'm also hurt with the fact that now when I want to take in more money, because me, each and every month I am taking a chunk of my money, or I take most of my money into US stocks, because obviously most of you that have been following for some time, you'll know that I'm more into US stocks than local stocks. Yes, I do have a couple of my ZAR stocks locally, but most of my money, in fact over 90% of my stock market portfolio, is in the US stock market. So most of my money in the stock market is in the US stock market, which is why yeah, it is a good thing to see that of course 90% or over 90% of my money in the stock market, I saw it grow by of course this ZAR of course weakening to 19 rand 44 cents. Now some of you might be asking yourselves as to what is making the ZAR or the South African rand to lose its strength against the dollar. Well, ladies and gents, on this video I want to just quickly give you a brief or some of the most important things that are the ones that usually makes a certain currency to lose of course value or to depreciate in value against other probably currency, and that in this case it's our South African rand or the ZAR against the dollars. Now before we dig deep into that, you already know that this video is just an entertainment video and not a professional financial advice video, and I would really appreciate if you can just hit the likes button if you do enjoying or if you are enjoying the content that I'm giving you about of course the ZAR or the South African rand hitting 19 rands and 44 against the dollar, which is something that is making a lot of people to panic. I mean, in South Africa, I don't know how many days this week I saw, of course, ZAR or these ZAR against the dollar exchange rate trending on Twitter. This is something that shows that a lot of people are worried, a lot of people are concerned about this, because this not only does it apply to obviously investing, even when you buy goods, products and services, now you have to pay more to some of the products and services that maybe you were buying abroad, because the exchange rate of the dollar against the ZAR, ladies and gents, saw a very huge change this week, of seeing of course or resulting in this South African rand to lose its grip or to depreciate in terms of value. So you would have to pay more even as a regular consumer, not investing in stocks and what in some of the things that of course you are buying, and this is going to of course increase inflation, or is going to result in inflation obviously increasing, because most of the things that obviously we are buying into shops, most of the things or some of the things that we buy in shops, some of the things that we buy in retails and the day-to-day things we use, they are being imported from abroad, or they are being imported, some of them from the US, meaning that the exchange rate for those retailers to get those things, now they have to pay more because the exchange rate it is high, or the USD to the dollar exchange rate, ladies and gents, is now favoring more the dollars, where we saw of course the South African rand losing its grip or losing or continuing seeing a depreciation or losing its value against the dollar, which is something that is of course going to also result in those retailers increase the price of the food, of the items we buy in shops, which that, ladies and gents, you already know that it is going to be one thing that makes our inflation to continue surge, our inflation to rise, because even oil, like a simple thing like oil, you will know that oil, it is very important. I mean, we are importing oil from abroad and of course producing petrol and all the fossil fuels, but the thing is now for that, or for us to obviously import that oil now, is going to be a way more expensive than where it was probably in 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, which is something that obviously is a concern and something that is going to make a lot of things locally to rise when it comes to prices. So we are going to pay more for most of the things we buy in shops. So regardless, those things are from also the US or they are local, we are going to pay more, which is something that obviously you need to put in mind or brace yourselves for that. Unless the ZAR maybe gains its strength, then chances are very high that we are going to see of course the price of petrol going up, we are going to see the price of products and services or food, prices of food going up, because the prices of oil, ladies and gents, when we import the oil, we are going to pay more, which is going to result, like I said, in of course the traveling cost of distributing the food we eat on a day-to-day, distributing the products we use every day is going to be high, and that, ladies and gents, is going to result in retailers increasing the price of the food, the price of the products we use on a day-to-day. So this does not only affect investors, but it is one thing that is also affecting the consumers, the day-to-day consumers, because, ladies and gents, we are going to have to pay more if the situation of the dollar and the South African rand not improving. So we are hoping that, I'm personally hoping that as the week unfolds, or few weeks unfolds, we are going to see probably strength. But ladies and gents, like I said on this video, I want to tell you some of the things that of course have an impact on the what we are seeing right now from the dollar and the ZAR, or South African rand. So if you do enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button, as it also helps with YouTube's algorithm. Otherwise, if you've not subscribed, please also consider hitting that subscribe button, click the notification bell, because on this channel we are all about the news that have an impact into the stock market. The fact that, like I said, we saw of course the rand weakening this week, it is a bad thing, because those that want to buy assets, mean right now when I transfer my money on a month to month, like what I'm used to right now, I'm going to have to pay more, because the exchange rate is more, and the chances are very high with the broker that I use, I will be paying almost 20 rands, or around 20 rands every time I take my money to the US. So if you are enjoying this content, I would really appreciate if you can just hit the like button, as it also helps with YouTube's algorithm. Otherwise, if you're not subscribed, consider hitting the subscribe button and click the notification bell, so that at least you get notified every time I drop a new content. Now, without wasting any more of your time, the three things that of course has a huge impact in of course exchange rate is of course the economic outlook, that is the GDP forecast for the year, that is the GDP growth for a country. It has a huge impact on of course exchange rate. I mean, locally you will know that of course according to the IMF sees South Africa growing in terms of GDP by around 0.1%. They revised this from 1.1%, and it is now at 0.1%. This is something that of course it is having a huge impact, because this, ladies and gents, means that South Africa won't grow by much this year. In fact, South Africa won't even grow, because 0.1%, I don't think it's even a growth, because they are almost at 0%. So South Africa is not expected to grow, and as I've been telling you in the videos that I've been making previously, to say that this means that even the companies that we invest in locally cannot grow by much. And we all know that obviously one thing that is having a huge impact into of course our economy is load shedding or power cuts, which we are seeing them being implemented on a day-to-day. Retailers, stocks, or companies we invest in locally are having to come up with mitigation measures to try to curb of course this load shedding, but they are not 100% winning, which is something that is still a concern. But one thing for sure is that load shedding, it is having a huge impact in our economy, which is one of the reasons why the IMF made or reduced or cut its prediction of the GDP for 2023 of South Africa to 0.1%. Now, I know you might be asking yourselves, well, what is the outlook or the guidance for, of course, the US or USA when it comes to the GDP for 2023? Well, the IMF, or the same IMF, sees a GDP growth of 2.9% in the US, which is something that is incredible. Now, these two, when you compare 0.1, 2.9%, it must just show you that US is expected to grow much more than obviously South Africa, which is the first factor that of course affect the exchange rates, or that will then makes the US dollars to gain strength against the South African currency, because it is expected, or the economy in the US is expected to grow much more than our economy. That is the first thing. Now, the second thing, ladies and gents, it is the interest rates difference between the countries. So interest rates different, or interest rates increase difference between USA and South Africa. I mean, from 2021, you'll know that the USA, ever since they started raising interest rates, they have raised interest rates 10 times, whereas as locally we have only raised interest rates 9 times. So now this means that the US has been more aggressive when raising interest rates more than South Africa, which these, ladies and gents, raising interest rates attract investors into investing, of course, into the currency, which obviously, or the country which obviously has been raising interest rates the most, because they know that it will be offering, or it will offer stability when it comes to, of course, the economy, which is something that is incredible, and something that obviously it is making, of course, South African rand to of course, or might be causing the South African rand to, of course, continue losing its grip against the US dollars. Now, the last thing, or the third thing that obviously has an impact on the exchange rate is, of course, is the economic and political stability of a country. I mean, right now, our economy, most of you know that it is not stable at all, especially with load shedding. Load shedding is one of the things that is hurting our economy so bad, and no one is safe, from small businesses to large businesses. We are seeing, of course, businesses being hurt by load shedding, which is why they are having to spend way more trying to bring in mitigation measures so that it can be business as usual. But one thing that we are seeing, it looks like most companies are still struggling with mitigation measures, which is why we are seeing them on earnings not even doing that good. So load shedding is one of the things that is not making our economy to look stable, which is why we are seeing, of course, institutions like the IMF cutting, of course, their GDP outlook for South Africa to point from 1.1% to 0.1%. It is for this reason why we are seeing, of course, these kind of things. And the political stability also, I don't think I can say we are stable, but I don't want to comment further on that. But yes, I mean, you and me will know that, of course, the political stability is not, it's not that smooth. But obviously, but I don't think it is having that much of an impact. The only thing that obviously it is seriously hurting or having a huge impact in our economy is, of course, load shedding, which, ladies and gents, it needs to be addressed, because it's just bad for consumers, it's just bad for businesses. People don't make money like they used to, even from small to large businesses, which is something that is not good at all. Otherwise, these are the three factors that affect, of course, the exchange rates, like what we are saying on the dollar to the ZAR or South African rand, which, ladies and gents, it is not looking good. And because everything as it stands for now, I know the the US still has a problem of their own, like the debt ceiling, but economy wise, it is still expected to grow way more than South Africa. Even, of course, the problems that they have are not as hectic as the kind of problems we have, like power cuts or load shedding locally. Otherwise, with all that, guys, like I said, yes, these 19 rands 44 cents we saw of the South African rand trading at against the dollar, it is not good at all, because, ladies and gents, we get to now pay more, or it is going to result in us to pay more on products and services, to pay more, of course, when we, of course, transfer our money to buy US stocks to invest. This is something that obviously it is not good, but nonetheless, we are going to continue loading the boat, taking the money into the US, because, of course, we want to buy those assets, we want to buy those stocks in the US, so that we see our money growing much quicker. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I make tons and tons of stock market investing videos. And if you think that the video was amazing, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell, so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market and investing journey, and God bless you all.